Hey guys, my name is Gowdy, and we have some interesting news coming out about Tesla and Bitcoin. So yesterday, February the 8th, Tesla released their annual report, their 10K filing, and on that report, they showed that they bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. And not too long after that, Bitcoin shot through the roof. I can't even see it anymore. It's like $46,000. It's crazy. So why does this even matter? So what I want to do is read through Tesla's annual report and kind of explain what's happening and what are some of the implications for Tesla as well as the broader market. All right, so I brought up Tesla's 10K and we're going to read through it really quickly. I've highlighted some important things, so we'll just scan through that first. And so starting with the green highlight, Tesla invested an aggregate of $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. So this just says, hey, we bought some Bitcoin. Cool beans. Moving on, this one, this statement here in the pink is going to be an implication I talk about later, but Tesla's saying that they are beginning to, or expecting to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment for their products in the near future. So for instance, using Bitcoin to buy a Tesla Model 3 and are subject to applicable laws, blah, 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 who cares? Moving on, the tax implication starts here in the blue, which is digital assets, which Bitcoin is, are currently considered indefinite-lived intangible assets, which is some weird mumbo jumbo, but I did a little reading into it and I'm pretty sure I understand what's going on here. But we'll finish up this highlight and then I'll explain what the intangible asset is and stuff like that. And so moving on, since it's an intangible asset, any decrease in the fair value below their carrying value for such assets, aka the Bitcoin, at any time subsequent to their acquisition, so anytime after they bought it, will require Tesla to record it as a loss. Now this is kind of interesting that it's recorded as a loss, and it may actually negatively impact Tesla's quarterly earnings if they ever see a decrease in the value of the Bitcoin that they purchased. So I wanted to jump over to a new PDF here that kind of explains what the indefinite asset is and all that mumbo jumbo. And so in accounting, an intangible asset is defined as non-monetary assets that cannot be seen, touched, or physically measured. And in this case, currently, Bitcoin is an intangible asset. Now, there are some different ways that it's taxed, but instead of amortizing the asset, an indefinite asset is evaluated for impairment. And if an impairment occurs, it's recognized as a loss. Now, to kind of explain that, an impairment cost is basically the value of the Bitcoin that Tesla bought minus what it currently is valued at. And so you'll see that here, an impairment cost must be included under expenses when carrying value for non-current assets exceeding the recoverable amount. The recoverable amount is the value of the Bitcoin today. The carrying value is the value of the Bitcoin when Tesla bought it. So basically, if Tesla is losing money on the investment of Bitcoin, they record that difference as a loss. Now that's pretty interesting because if we ever see a decrease in the value of Bitcoin below what Tesla bought it at, they will be recording that as a loss on their quarterly earnings. And it might actually impact maybe their earnings per share and their total revenue. And this would be weird because Tesla might have a roaring, awesome, killer quarter, but then they might kind of suffer because their Bitcoin is sucking. So the other part of this is the reversal of the impairment loss. So whenever Bitcoin regains its value. And essentially what happens is if the value of Bitcoin ever recovers, they have to record it as a gain on their income statement, but only up to the impairment loss for that quarter. Which means if the value of Bitcoin goes above what they lost during that quarter, they don't actually record it as income. Now, I think the takeaway for this is that there might be some games that companies can play, specifically Tesla can play, to minimize the amount of taxes they're paying and be able to invest the cash that they have on hand. So kind of stepping back here, the bigger implication is that with Tesla buying Bitcoin, it kind of starts to legitimize Bitcoin as an investment for large companies. And with all the weird mumbo jumbo that was happening that we just explained with the taxes and the impairment loss, you're going to have to pay attention to what companies are invested in Bitcoin, the impairment loss that they have, because it can affect their quarterly earnings, and it might give you a very different impression than what is actually happening. To give you an example, if Tesla has a great quarter, but they have a significant impairment loss on their Bitcoin investment, the quarterly earnings could show weaker performance, and that might actually drive Tesla price down. And that could give you an opportunity to buy into Tesla. So I think this is something that you should really talk to a CPA with, just to confirm what I believe is happening. And I need to look into this a little more, but definitely looking at a company's Bitcoin investment will become critical when analyzing their quarterly earnings. Now, really quick, I wanted to go back to this statement in pink, where Tesla is expecting to begin accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment for their products. Now, I mentioned the Tesla Model 3 as being something that you could purchase, but I think it would expand to more things than just that. Something that Tesla could do is release a robo-taxi fleet, and that might be implemented in various different countries. And the issue with that is you've got different currency to deal with. With being able to accept Bitcoin as a payment, you can kind of avoid this currency exchange issue by accepting Bitcoin. It makes rolling out the robo-taxi fleet a little bit easier for Tesla to do. And considering how big Uber and Lyft are, being able to more easily roll out a robo-taxi fleet is pretty critical. I think this is something to pay attention to, specifically with accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment. Maybe this just accelerates rolling out that robo-taxi fleet when full self-drive comes out, and it might kill Uber and Lyft pretty quickly. Well, that's really all I have for this video. I hope that it provided you some value and it piqued your interest to look into Bitcoin a little bit more. I think with Tesla buying it and legitimizing Bitcoin as an investment for large companies, other companies might start following suit. And I think it would be a good idea to understand how Bitcoin functions and how the blockchain functions. It'll be interesting to see the downstream effects of Tesla buying this Bitcoin and see how it comes out on their quarterly earnings. So hope you enjoyed the video. Take care.